We'll get started with introductions. My name is Dr. Ted Ellis, co-facilitator, and with me is
Dr. Kristen Ballard, and I will be monitoring the chat if you have questions.
yes, and we're excited to introduce Dr. Shama Grimmage, who's university faculty for the School of Multidisciplinary and Professional Studies at Purdue University Global. So Dr. Grimmage, when you're ready, please begin.
Okay. So good. Well, it's afternoon for me, but I want to say it might be mid-afternoon for you guys. But welcome. Thank you for joining my session on creating a culture of care, recognizing and addressing burnout in the workplace. So I'm Dr. Shama Grimmage, again, university faculty with Purdue University Global. And today we are going to explore the signs of burnout, how to recognize it in the workplace, and we're going to discuss some strategies to foster that supportive environment for you. My speaker note screen. Okay. Give me a second. I'm sorry. Oh. Is that better? Can you guys see the?
Yeah, that's perfect. You're on your main
Okay,
screen.
awesome.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me know, because that's a little above my expertise here. All right, so let's move along here. So today we are going to discuss, well, I have an icebreaker for us. We're going to talk about understanding burnout, recognizing burnout in the workplace, strategies to address burnout, and then cultivating a culture of care. And then I have a call to action for you all. Okay. All right, so again, I'm Dr. Shama Grimmage, university faculty with Purdue University Global. All right, so we have a little bit of an icebreaker. I want to start off with burnout bingo. So I want us to take a moment to mark off any boxes that apply to us, and that's going to be on the next screen. But we're going to mark off any boxes that apply to you for the past month. And then whoever gets it first, you can put bingo in the chat, or you can, I'm not sure if you can unmute yourself, but you can yell out bingo. And so this activity it's here for us to reflect on our own experiences with burnout. And then we want to consider, are we experiencing the signs of burnout, and what stands out? All right. So let's get started. So I want you guys to mark off any box that applies to you in the past month. So if you get 5 in a row, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, I want you to call out bingo. Then reflect on your results as you experience signs of burnout. So go. And I'll read it off. But how many of us have skipped lunch to work? I know I have. Had trouble focusing. Woke up dreading work. Struggled to disconnect from work. Worked late multiple times. Checked emails after hours. Felt unappreciated at work. Felt mentally drained by middle of the day. Avoided meetings due to stress. Okay. Vanessa has bingo. Okay. Vanessa has, okay, so a lot of us already have bingo. A lot of us already have bingo. So how many of these applied to you? How many did you see that applied to you beyond bingo? Many? Okay. Did you notice any patterns? Most? Okay. All right. So most of us deal with burnout. Most of us deal with burnout. And now it's important for us to recognize the symptoms with, and, kind of discover some strategies on how to prevent and then manage it effectively. So someone said 19. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next slide. So we're all dealing with burnout here within the last month. All right, so before we can talk about strategies and things of that nature, we have to understand burnout. So burnout is more than just stress, because a lot of us feel like we're stressed. Some of us say we're stressed or we're burnt out, but burnout is so much more than just stress. It's a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged work-related stress. So it often results in reduced motivation, disengagement, and feelings of inefficacy. Understanding burnout is crucial so that we can prevent its negative impact on both the employees, and the organization. So here we have a definition of burnout. So burnout is a psychological syndrome. And I got this definition from Mashley and Letter, 2016. So it's still relevant. But burnout is a psychological syndrome emerging as a prolonged response to chronic interpersonal stressors on the job. So there are 3 key dimensions of the response. So that's exhaustion, feelings of cynicism, and which is skepticism and detachment from the job, and a sense of ineffectiveness and lack of accomplishment. So the significance of those 3, which is dimensional model, is that it clearly places the individual stress experiences within a social context and involves the person's conception of both self and others. All right, so what are some signs of burnout? So again, burnout it's more than just stress. So it manifests itself in different ways. So you have your emotional symptoms, which are the irritability, the skepticism, and then feeling unmotivated. And then you have the physical symptoms, which is chronic fatigue, frequent illness, and insomnia, like you can't sleep at night. And then you have behavioral symptoms, which is withdrawal, procrastination, and decreased performance. So I have a question for you all. Have you or a colleague ever experienced these symptoms, whether it's emotional, physical, or behavioral? Have you ever experienced any of these? Yes, okay. All of them? Okay. I would, okay, I'd place myself at the emotional symptoms right now. Things happen. Okay. So now that we're kind of recognizing those signs and symptoms, and then we're going to talk about some strategies. But next we're going to talk about the causes of burnout. So now we know we have burnout. We're experiencing some of those symptoms. So the root causes are often excessive workloads, lack of support, poor work-life balance, and unclear expectations. So some key causes, in a sense, are, like we said, excessive workload, lack of support, high pressure work environments. All of those contribute to burnout. And sometimes it can just get overwhelming and you're just, I can't do it anymore, right? So what type of impact does it have on employees and organizations? So burnout affects both individuals, so it affects us, and it affects your organization. So for employees, it leads to that lower job satisfaction, poor mental, right? And then physical health and decreased productivity. So what does that look like? That's fatigue, detachment, and low motivation. And then for the organization itself, it results in increased turnover, right? So everybody's walking away. Absenteeism. We have people who are always absent. They don't want to come to work. And then reduce morale. So addressing burnout isn't just about helping the individuals. It's about sustaining a healthy and high performing workplace. So for the organization, again, absenteeism, high turnover, and low productivity. So as I was doing my research, there is a brief from 2022 from the American Council of Education, ACE, and they wrote addressing burnout through cultural change, how leaders can stem attrition and support employees. So they said that burnout can lead to both individual and organizational consequences, including that turnover and that low morale and dissatisfaction with the workplace and opportunities for growth, and a belief that work is no longer meaningful. In education specifically, skepticism may lead to faculty and staff to see students as problems rather than people that they're meant to help. So have we experienced that part of it? Of now we're no longer, like, now my morale is down because I feel like there's no opportunities for growth. And now I'm looking at my students as they're the issue, rather than me seeing them as, my goal is their student success. Okay, so that is what they entail burnout to look like. And it's very true, because that oftentimes that's what it is. Whether you're staff or whether you're faculty, that is what it looks like. Okay, so the difference between we are all, Allie, we are all working through that. But the difference between stress and burnout, so while stress involves feeling of being overwhelmed, burnout is more profound. So resulting in feelings of disconnection, and hopelessness regarding work. So it effectively diminishes one's energy and enthusiasm over time, contrasting with transient stress. So you may see it as, so you started your job, you were always happy and just jovial, and I love my job. I want to, how can I grow? How can I help students and things of that nature? And then eventually work becomes overwhelming. I don't see the opportunities for growth. The students are becoming, those emails or that feedback is just, mind blowing. And now I no longer want to be there. So I want to call out. My immune system is down. And it's just, I'm over it, right? So oftentimes that is the difference between stress and being burnt out. Okay, so how do we recognize burnout in the workplace? What does that look like? So recognizing burnout early is a key to intervention. So we already talked about this, but some indicators include decline in enthusiasm and engagement, increased irritability, and withdrawal from not only your work, but from also your colleagues. And then physical symptoms, that fatigue, that frequent illness. And then by identifying all of these signs, organizations can then take a proactive step towards supporting employees. So why does early intervention matter? It prevents your burnout from worsening, and then it allows that timely intervention. So go ahead in the chat for me. What are some burnout warning signs you've noticed in your workplace? What are some warning signs you've noticed in your workplace, burnout warning signs? Anybody? Okay. So while you guys are typing away, okay, some of them creeping into meetings, okay. Not interacting, taking a step back to keep nose down and keep my job, absolutely. Frequent call outs, okay. When you get a chance to work with students and alumni directly and the experience was positive for them, all of this goes away. Okay, awesome. Thinking everything you do is pointless. Oh yeah, 5-day work week seems unbearable. Yeah, to many it is. You ever heard that saying, people say, I can't wait till Friday, or I can't wait till the weekend because I'm just ready to shut down, right? So that's real. Feeling as everything getting done is not seen as valuable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, believe it or not, some places have a 5-day work week. 5-day work week, which is I have experience in that, but typically it was during the summer. During the summer. So, but kudos to you for that 5-day work week. All right. So some observational indicators. So it's important to assess workplace burnout through observation and data. So what do those observational indicators look like? So changes in work habits, declining performance, and reduced interaction. And I know some of us may be supervisors or managers, but have we noticed those in our employees? Maybe the employees that are under us, have we noticed some of those signs with those individuals? Maybe their work habits are declining, performance is not what it used to be. And as someone said in the chat, keep their nose down and don't really talk to anybody, kind of just stay to themselves. Have we observed that? Okay. So yes. All right. So then we have employee feedback and surveys. So employee surveys. So regular check-ins help gauge stress levels. So Allie, you said that you noticed that some of those who work under you, that you've seen that work performance decline. Well, you have your regular checkups that help gauge stress levels and workplace satisfaction, allowing managers, supervisors, leaders to make informed decisions. Okay. So surveys are essential to gauge that burnout. So they provide insight into employees' perceptions of workload, support, and organizational culture, offering management and the data that is needed to make informed decisions. So I know most universities, or some universities, they may send a university-wide survey, but do we send surveys or get that employee feedback within our departments to kind of gauge our employees that way? Okay, so employee feedback and surveys. Performance and metrics. So monitoring performance metrics, such as productivity levels, absenteeism, and turnover rates can reveal burnout trends. And then a decline in performance often correlates with increased burnout. So necessitating timely discussions and interventions with management. So when we look at that data, and then we're looking at the performance and we're analyzing those metrics to see, what can be done. Okay, and then now that we kind of see the metrics, what the data looks like, what is management's role in identification? So managers play a vital role in recognizing burnout. So whether you're a supervisor, whatever the case may be, your role is vital in recognizing burnout. So again, regular check-ins, fostering that supportive environment, and encouraging open dialogue can help employees feel heard and valued. So when managers create a culture of care, employees are more likely to seek support. All right, and then some best practices is we conduct those regular check-ins with employees. And then it's foster a supportive, non-judgmental work environment. How do we foster a supportive environment? How do we foster? What are some things that you do to foster a supportive environment for your employees or those around you? Okay, and then the next one is encourage an open door policy. So employees should feel safe discussing their workload and their challenges. So I work strictly online, but I say my virtual door is always open. So that regardless of how you feel, this is a no judgment zone. So we should be able to communicate with each other. All right, and that leads us to creating open communication channels. So transparent communication is essential in addressing that burnout. So employees should feel comfortable discussing their challenges with fear of judgment, without fear. Oh goodness, without fear of judgment. So again, those one-on-one check-ins, we're fostering a culture of trust where employees feel safe sharing concerns, and then provide multiple avenues for feedback. So maybe it's an open forum or again, the surveys. And this matters because employees feel heard and valued. And we all want to feel heard and valued, right? And then it encourages early intervention for stress-related issues. And then some ways that we can promote open dialogue. Again, those surveys would make them anonymous to gauge the burnout levels. Team meetings where employees can share workload concerns. I know sometimes that can get a little overwhelming when everybody's just sharing workload concerns, but it's an idea. And then leadership transparency in addressing those workplace challenges. Okay, so I have another question for you. What communication strategies have worked in your workplace? Any communication strategies that have worked at your university or in your department? Anybody? Okay. We are pretty quiet today, but it's okay. But if you think of something, go ahead and put it in the chat for me. Okay, communication strategies. Okay, so some strategies, now we're gonna look at some strategies to address burnout, okay? Okay, so Jen said one-on-one with a trusted leader. I like that, absolutely. And oftentimes, this is kind of going to the left right quick, but how many of us have a mentor? A trusted mentor that we could talk to? Maybe a one-on-one on how to handle certain things or some different strategies that you can discuss. That made me think of, Jen, that made me think of a mentor when you said a trusted leader. Oh, wow. So sometimes it feels like burnout is the new normal and just how we operate at all levels. Man, that is not good. That is not good. I get what you're saying, Jim, but that's not, yeah. But sometimes it does feel like that. Sometimes it does, where it's just everybody's burnt out and we keep it moving. Like almost like the Energizer Bunny, right? The battery's going low, but we still keep trotting along because we have work to do. Okay, so let's look at some strategies to address burnout. So to combat burnout effectively, organizations should implement some strategies. And that includes promoting work-life balance, reducing unnecessary workloads. I know sometimes that's easier said than done. And then encourage time off and flexible schedules. And then offer professional development opportunities to keep employees engaged. I know there are plenty of times where we as faculty are always encouraged to use our time off, like always encouraged to just use it instead of letting it pile up. And it's so easy for our time to pile, right? To not use it because it's always something to do. And even when we do take off, use our time, sometimes, like we said in the beginning, we're checking emails. We're still responding to people. Even though we're supposed to be taking time off, we're still responding to emails and people are still reaching out to us. So technically, not taking time off, okay? So organizations or companies that invest in burnout prevention see a higher engagement and retention amongst their employees. So again, that's that work-life balance. So who can tell me what does work-life balance look like to you? So someone said, for years we've operated on unsteady ground. So I see the two main reactions here are to feel scared or kind of give up a bit. Yes, we all do our jobs, but I do think burnout just in relation to that is very common. It is very common. It is very common. And just I recently, with some colleagues of mine, we recently submitted a book chapter for publication and we're talking about burnout and amongst faculty and adjunct faculty. And just by doing the research, it is so common for faculty and staff, I'll say staff, looking at the numbers, to feel burnt out. And that definition of burnout, or that brief from ACE, that's back from 2022. So we know it's still alive and kicking for burnout. And yeah, it's real. I would love a duty-free weekend or vacation, Jen. I would love that. Okay. So again, implementing work-life balance. I was in a session before coming to this one, and the young lady mentioned, instead of saying work-life balance, she said work-life synergy, which I thought that was really cool. But here we're talking about the different policies that the organization may have. So work-life balance policies help employees manage their work and personal lives effectively. So that reduces the stress and it increases that job satisfaction. Yeah, Felicia, yeah, she it was a Q&A, like a panel discussion. And I thought that was really interesting. I never heard that before, where she said work-life synergy. So I thought that was real. I'm like, I don't want to change my PowerPoint, but I thought that was really cool. So I'm gonna start using that. But that work-life balance, those flexible hours, remote work options, and family leave are crucial components. Okay. All right. So providing mental health resources. So access to mental health resources can greatly benefit employees. So I'm pretty sure many of our organizations offer this, but counseling services, stress management workshops, employee assistance programs, providing these resources foster that healthier, more productive work environment. So besides the ones I've just listed, what type of mental health resources does your organization have that kind of benefit you as an employee, other than counseling services? Or do you have stress management workshops? Are there employee assistance programs? Do we have access to that? So access to these things promotes that overall well-being. Okay, EAP and a trusted leader. Okay. So having access to these resources, it reduces that absenteeism and improves morale, highlighting that connection between mental health support and workplace productivity. Okay. Okay, so encouraging breaks and time off. Encouraging breaks and time off. So I know that's easier said than done, but regular breaks enhance focus and reduces mental fatigue, and that, it leads to that overall improved performance. So encouraging employees and encouraging yourself to take time off for vacation or mental health days fosters a culture of care, allowing the staff to recharge and return energized. I know I had a job before where I was working in nonprofit. It was education still, but nonprofit. And we had mental health days. We had a mental health day, and I thought that was so cool because it's not too often that you go into an organization that has that. So I thought that was really nice to, even if I'm not feeling burnt out, I still have that day to kind of, recharge and come back focused from a busy week. So that is really, really nice. Okay, so fostering that team support and collaboration. So that's a big word in higher ed or just in general, collaboration. So a supportive work culture helps mitigate burnout. So encourage teamwork and peer support. So that's through like mentorship programs, team building activities, recognizing and appreciating employee contributions. And then when employees feel valued, they are more engaged and resilient. Okay. Okay, so training for managers and leaders. So training programs for managers equip them with skills to recognize and address burnout in their teams. So educated leaders, I know I've seen several times where somebody said a trusted leader, but educated leaders foster a supportive environment, a supportive atmosphere, encouraging employees to voice their concerns, which is essential for maintaining mental health in the workplace. All right, so cultivating a culture of care. How do we do that? So a workplace that prioritizes care can significantly reduce burnout. So some elements or some key elements of supportive workplace is empathy-driven leadership, flexible work policies to reduce that burnout risk, and then recognition and appreciation for employees. So a culture of care benefits everyone, fostering that healthier and more productive organization. So do we have, at our organizations, do we have recognition or some sort of appreciation for employees? So whatever the case may be, like whatever you do, is that something that's implemented within your organization? And what about empathy-driven leadership? Do you have access to leaders that are empathy-driven? Okay, so while we're cultivating that culture of care, one is promoting wellness initiatives. Okay, so wellness initiatives can include health screenings, mental health days, and fitness programs. So organizations that prioritize these initiatives often see improved employee morale and reduced health care costs, fostering a healthier work environment. And I remember getting emails about Fitbit. I don't think that's a thing nowadays, but Fitbit, where they were encouraging employees to, go for walks, go for running, heart health, things of that nature. And for a minute there, it was all the rave. But those are some things that in organizations can do to promote that wellness. All right. So how to be mindful. So mindfulness is a powerful tool in preventing burnout. So encourages employees, to take short breaks throughout the day, practice breathing exercises or meditation, set boundaries between work and personal life. I'll say that again. Set boundaries between work and personal life. That's a big one, right? Setting those boundaries. And then being present and intentional allows us to manage stress more effectively. So I want us to do an exercise. We're going to do a 1-minute breathing exercise. I can't share my sound. I have some lovely music for you all, but I can't share my sound. So I just want us to get comfortable, and that includes us sitting up straight, put your feet flat on the floor, rest your hands in your lap. And I want you to close your eyes. It's optional, but close your eyes, or you can soften your gaze to kind of limit distractions wherever you are. Oh, excuse me. And I want you to inhale deeply for 4 seconds. So breathe in slowly through your nose and then filling your lungs completely. So and then hold for 4 more seconds, and then exhale for 4 seconds. So gently release the air through your mouth, letting go of the tension. And before inhaling, sit in stillness. Continue this cycle for a minute, and I want you to focus on your breath and your relaxation. So after 1 minute, I want you to gently bring awareness back to the room. And I want you to notice if your body feels lighter, calmer, or more present. So for those of you who did the breathing exercise, how does that make you feel after you've breathed in for, held it, breathed out? Do we feel more relaxed? Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. More relaxed is great. Calmer, okay, and more present. So sometimes, even if it's a 1 minute exercise, sometimes that helps with when we're feeling overwhelmed. You just stop. Maybe you need to close your door, or maybe you need to go to a safe space and just breathe in. Breathe in, hold it, breathe out. And you might have to do it several times to kind of relax. And then you go back, you're calmer. Laughing yoga. That sounds fun. That sounds fun. Okay, but meditate daily. How many of us already meditate daily? And that mindfulness allows us to work on our breathing and control our thoughts. Yes. New meditation techniques. Okay. You try to meditate every workday. Okay, Megan. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying different breathing exercises myself. You know, when I feel like it's about to go there, I breathe, definitely in the morning. Absolutely. The Calm app, yes, to help you stay focused. Absolutely. I have that. I love it. I love it. The music, and it's just so calming. You have to try not to fall asleep, but it's so calming. Okay, so being mindful, that's also helps us to prevent burnout. Okay. Okay. So now we have recognizing and rewarding employee efforts. Okay, so recognition programs such as Employee of the Month boost motivation and productivity. Tangible rewards alongside verbal appreciation foster a sense of belonging and reinforce that positive employee behavior. So it's nice to feel appreciated. I'll say that much. It's nice to feel appreciated. All right, so in creating that inclusive workplace environment that we discussed before, so that inclusive culture embraces diversity and ensures every employee feels valued. So companies with inclusive practices report higher employee engagement and retention, positively impacting overall performance. So when you have an inclusive work environment, everyone feels valued, you have less burnout. Okay. All right, so cultivating that culture of care includes continuous improvement and feedback loops. Okay, so that's regular feedback mechanisms. Again, those surveys, one-on-one check-ins enable organizations to adapt to employee needs effectively. And this not only addresses current issues, but also fosters a culture of open communication. And remember, we want to keep that line of communication open, non-judgmental. And then measuring the impact of interventions. So now we have interventions, but is it working? So evaluating the success of wellness programs and recognizing practices is critical. So metrics could include employee satisfaction scores. So those surveys that they send out, what do those scores look like? Retention rate, are all the employees leaving and productivity levels, helping organizations refine their approaches. All right, and now we have my call to action. Call to action. And I love these call to actions. So now that we understand burnout and how to address it, now it's time for all of us to take action. So go ahead and put in the chat for me. What is one thing you can do this week to address burnout? So we've already recognized that half of us are burnt out already for the past month. But what are some things that we can do this week to address burnout? So we did one here, but what are some other things that we can do to address burnout? Get outside in the sunshine. Okay. I love going for walks, Jen. I love it. I have my music, or sometimes I just like to hear the outside. Okay, take frequent breaks, but especially if I'm feeling overwhelmed by a task. Yep, absolutely. Anyone else? Okay. So, what are some things that we can do? All right, start a conversation about burnout in the workplace. So initiate open discussions about burnout in the workplace. Encourage employees to share their experiences and concerns in a safe, judgment-free environment. So that goes back to Jen when she mentioned that trusted leader. Assess workplace burnout level. That should say levels, typo there. But conduct employee surveys or check to gauge stress levels and identify risk factors. Use the data to inform policy changes and interventions. Okay, before I go on, someone said remind team members and colleagues that it's okay to take time for self-care. Absolutely. We need to let each other know that we should not feel guilty about taking care of ourselves. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, advocate for mental health support. So push for employee assistance programs. Check in on yourself and others, right? So Monica said self-care. Check in on yourself and others. So regularly assess your own stress levels and burnout symptoms. Ask colleagues, how are you doing? How are you really doing? Okay, to foster that open conversation. Do we ask ourselves, do we assess, check in on ourselves? Sometimes it's so easy to check in on others, but how often do we check in on us, on yourself? And sometimes we forget that. Okay. And then set boundaries and prioritize self-care. So protect your time by setting clear work-life boundaries, taking breaks and ensuring you plug after hours when possible. Okay. And then be a champion for change. Be a champion for change. So encourage leadership to prioritize employee well-being by suggesting burnout prevention strategies, promoting wellness initiatives, and fostering that supportive team environment. Okay. All right, so these are some references that I have used to inform our discussion today. And these studies and articles provided valuable insight into the impact of burnout and strategies to combat it. So I want to thank all of you all for your time and your engagement today. So if you have any questions or would like to continue the conversation here, feel free to reach out to me. And you have my email on the screen. And I know Dr. Kristen has put some questions in the chat. And it has provided you a link, forms to go ahead and fill out. But thank you for your time and your engagement. I really appreciate it. And it was so nice to discuss burnout with you all today.